Welcome, guys, to another episode of Reach Your Peak podcast with your host, Bobby Enright. And today's show, we're going to discuss sleep. I want to give you my top tips on how you can improve your sleep and the importance of sleep as well. One thing that I do with sleep, and something I've done for a good while now, is I track my sleep with an Aura ring, which is it's a great measure of sleep, and it's a great measure of HRV as well, and resting heart rate, and it's a great metric to use with your sleep. So sleep is something that is really important to me as a coach, and should be very important to you as well, whatever your goal may be. If it's sports performance, if it's body composition, if it's just literally having energy in your day, remember that the importance of sleep just can't be overlooked, because sleep is our greatest opportunity for recovery, for mood, and for overall sense of well-being. This is really, really important. And if we have decreases in our sleep, we're going to have increases in cortisol, our stress hormone. We're going to see that, and we don't want that. And we want to make sure that once we're sleeping, we're rejuvenating the body, regenerating muscle tissue, helping the body to rest and digest, helping the body to grow, helping the body to really get in a good place for the coming day, for maybe training session or whatever it may be. So this is really hugely important, guys, when it comes to sleep. So the kind of 4 areas that kind of really impact sleep in terms of improving it seems to be light, temperature, food, and stress. These are the huge areas. So when I talk about one of the actionable items is what we need to talk about. We know that if we think about light, and we think about temperature of room, and we think about food choices, and we think about stress, they're all going to have an impact on sleep. So both positive and negative, depending on the way you approach them. But we have to look at actionable items we can do straight away that's going to help you improve your sleep. So the first thing is breathing. Breathing, we're talking about breathing. Nasal breathing is our pathway to our parasympathetic tone, and that's where we want to be when we're going to bed at night. We want to be going from that sympathetic drive that we have all day, go, training and all that kind of stuff, into more a parasympathetic mode. We want to bring our body into parasympathetic mode at nighttime, for a couple of reasons: to be able to digest our food very well, to be able to bring down our body's stress response into an area the body gets more into a relaxed state, and then we're going to have a nice high production of melatonin, our sleep hormone, that's going to help us to wind down and start to get our body prepared for sleep that night. So working on nasal breathing will definitely help to reduce the stress response, guys, and really working with your breathing. And I'm talking about 6 breaths a minute, 4 to 6 seconds breathing in, hold for 4 to 6, and 4 to 6 seconds breathing out. Now, you mightn't be at the ability yet to have your breaths for about 6 per minute, but you build up to that. So a nice slow nasal breathing, taking that deep nasal breath in 4 to 6 seconds, hold that breath 4 to 6 seconds, and breathe out slowly for a further 4 to 6 seconds, can really, really help to stimulate the parasympathetic system and prepare the body and mind for sleep. And that's something you can implement straight away. And this should be done multiple times throughout the day, so you can reinforce the unconscious pattern of the breath. So really getting the body used to that pathway, really getting the body getting used to that control, that breath control, and really helping the body to move into more parasympathetic tone. So really important, guys, we look at that. And the other thing as well is we can look at food and removing foods. What I mean about removing foods, removing foods that 3 to 4 hours before bed, because it will increase the depth of your sleep, not having the body digesting a lot of food prior to going to bed. So what you want to do there is you want to be able to make sure you have your kind of last meal at least 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed, and 4 if possible, so your body has digested that food before you go into that sleep pattern and bring yourself more into even a deeper parasympathetic tone. So it's really important. Now, the other thing as well is it can be tricky for people that are maybe trying to fit in foods in the evening and training in the evening. So we just need to basically really think about then the foods that you're actually eating, and making sure your body is able to break them down well and digest them well. So maybe we look at foods that we would that will be easier to digest. That's the kind of foods we want. So for the last meal of the day, and even incorporating some carbohydrates within that meal has shown to help your sleep in terms of inducing serotonin to calm the nervous systems. And we know that serotonin is released as we eat carbohydrates, so that's going to help to kind of calm down the nervous system and help that pathway. So maybe looking, if you have to eat later, make sure that the foods you're choosing are easily digestible foods. They're not ones you're feeling gassy or bloated with. You don't have any inflammation from them, and maybe introducing some carbohydrates there in that meal can really help your sleep pathway and improve that sleep. So the other thing you can think about too, guys, is just allowing yourself a bigger window from your last meal to when you actually go to bed. That can really help. Getting it very important as well is getting the body when you get up in the morning. So when you wake up from your sleep, to really think about your time you spend. You remember, we spent all these hours inside, so it's really important to get out in direct morning sunshine or sunlight. It really helps your body and really awakens the body in the morning. And this will help with falling asleep, because it will help you set a circadian rhythm. So when we get up in the morning, when we step outside, that's like kickstarting your circadian rhythm, because we're designed to be in natural light in the morning. When the sun rises, we're genetically disposed to be getting up, and when the sun goes down, going to bed. Now, the world we live in, we don't actually do that, but it really helps you if you get out in the morning light. The very minute you get out of bed, just walk outside, get some natural light into the body. It really helps kickstart that circadian rhythm. And then at nighttime, you're toning down lights at nighttime, like your TVs, your videos, your phones. You're getting off social media, and you're really helping that circadian rhythm to wind the body down. Remember, it's getting darker outside. You're preparing yourself for sleep. So getting out in the morning can really help that pathway and get the body into a nice circadian rhythm. So really important. Another thing that can help people as well is exercise. Exercise is a huge part, because remember, exercise is very, very vitalizing for the body. It's brilliant to train in the morning, because it really sets you up for the day. It gets you in a fantastic mood. It gets you going. It gets blood flow in the body. It gets the body to feel alive. And the importance of this is, by training first thing in the morning will increase the likelihood of falling asleep at night, due to the effects of setting a circadian rhythm. Remember, you've got up in the morning, you went outside, you went out for maybe morning exercise. So again, that helps that circadian pathway, which can really help. If you are training late at night, guys, one thing you want to understand is, if you're into the gym at night, you're driving that sympathetic tone, because that's the way we need to be when we're in the gym. So you need to have pathways. You really have to focus on your breathing post-training, really focus on the foods you're bringing into your body and the time before you go to bed. So you really have to set yourself up a little bit differently there. But if you have the opportunity to, say, train in the morning, so you might be able to move your weight training to the morning, because you know that's very sympathetic driven, and that's not a bad thing to be doing in the morning. You're going to be alive, you're ready to go, you hit your session. So maybe towards the evening time, then you could start to do some low-level cardio work, low-level aerobic work, which is going to be very, very parasympathetic driven, and it's going to be very, very, very beneficial to you instead of you hitting your weight session in the evening. So that's maybe, say, something potentially you could do that would really help you in terms of sleep. Now, that's not for everybody. That's not something everybody can do, but it's something you can really help you as well. And another thing as well is, when you get up in the morning, to help your circadian clock, is when you get up in the morning to have something to eat. It just kickstarts that clock as well. So eating first thing in the morning is a good way to set your circadian clock if falling asleep at night is a challenge. So that can really, really help you. Just like we said, eating some carbohydrates at nighttime can be beneficial for sleep because of the release of serotonin. And we know serotonin and melatonin go hand in hand in terms of when the release is there. So that's really important. So eating in the morning can be very, very important, because the body can predict when you're going to eat. So like we'll say, say if you have your meal times kind of set, you get up in the morning, have something to eat, you go for your exercise, then you go in the afternoon, you have something to eat, and you come in the evening, you have something to eat, and you do your low level aerobic work. Your body is kind of getting its clock and its system sorted. It kind of knows when things are happening. So it's really, really beneficial to maybe do that as well. So and the one thing you need to think is, high stress, we don't want that high stress in the evening. So we want activities that are going to be a bit lower stress, more parasympathetic driven, and are really going to help our parasympathetic pathway, which we need to have in place to really drive sleep and quality of sleep. And the next thing we kind of look at is removing the likes of blue light, guys. So we're looking at laptops, we're looking at mobile phones, we're looking at TVs. interaction with these are going to have a negative effect on melatonin production, because we know that blue light is emitted from these, and what happens when our body is emitted with blue light, it blunts the pathway of melatonin production, which we want to have in the evening. Remember, melatonin is our sleep hormone, so we want that in high levels in the evening, preparing ourselves for sleep. So we know that if we don't have if we can remove ourselves from all these maybe up to 90 minutes before bed, they're going to really help. Now, there's a lot of studies as well done on blue blocking glasses, which you can purchase and you can wear, and they block that blue light coming in. Again, you need to be going for higher quality ones here, guys, not the cheaper versions, because you need to go for ones that are certified and you know they do exactly what they say on the tin. So really important. The ones I would recommend, probably I haven't used personally myself, but I know people have used them. I had a good response from them, is Blue Blocks. BLUBLOC are a very, very good company. I think they're based out of Australia, actually, or somewhere like that. But you can buy their stuff online, but they seem to have a very, very high quality of blue blocking glasses, and the site will tell you which ones to go for, because there's also ones for daytime and there's also ones for nighttime. So that's really, really important as well, and just something you can think about. So there has to be that switch off point, because we know all this blue light is going to negatively affect our sleep. It's going to negatively affect our body's ability to produce melatonin. So we need to have that shut off. We need to have that time. We say, no, that's it. It's gone. You put it away. Maybe go and do something that's very, very parasympathetic driven, like reading, go for a walk before you go to bed, can be really, really helpful. And the next thing we need to look at, guys, is stimulants. So when we look at caffeine is a stimulant. It's a very, very well-researched stimulant, and a very, very healthy thing for the body in certain doses, especially when it comes to performance. Definitely when it comes to definitely performance, it can increase that. So we need to look at stimulants, and we need to look at cutting stimulants about 8 hours before our sleep. That's what I would always recommend. So when it comes to caffeine intake, if you're drinking your coffee, you just say to yourself, okay, when do I roughly go to bed? If it's 9 o'clock at night, you're just counting back 8 hours, and that's when you're going to stop your intake of stimulants. So maybe your caffeine intake after that period of time could be decaf. If you're taking any pre-workouts and stuff like that, the morning time, you're not taking them towards the evening time, because they will impede on your sleep, without a doubt, because we have to look at caffeine will raise your blood pressure. It will drive more blood flow. It will definitely drive you more into a sympathetic tone. So we need to remove that and bring ourselves more into a parasympathetic tone towards that evening time. So 8 hours out from sleep, start to remove your stimulants, guys. Is really, really important when it comes to sleep. The other thing as well, as I'd say, is your water intake. Start to kind of cut back on that around 6 p.m. in the evening, to give yourself a few hours that you're not drinking as much water, because possibly you could be waking at night going to the loo, and that's what you want to stop as well, because you want good quality sleep, that when you go to bed, you're sleeping, you're having high quality sleep, and you're feeling really good when you get up in the morning. Is really, really important. There's other stuff you can look at for sleep as well. Like you can start to look at stuff like ashwagandha. Ashwagandha has been shown to help with cortisol levels in the body, and that's something potentially you could take post-workout when cortisol is high. It can help to bring that back down. Also, taurine is very, very, very good for that as well. It can bring down the nervous system and kind of calm the nervous system down a little bit. So something you could implement is maybe some ashwagandha, some taurine, maybe one post-training and one pre-bed, has shown to help sleep pathways. You can also look at melatonin, but again, that has to be prescribed by the doctor. So that's something that people can take, but again, it has to be measured, and it has to be a professional, like a doctor, physician involved in that. You can look at setting up an environment as well. When we spoke about temperatures, this is really important when you look at where your sleep environment is. It's so important you think about, okay, what light is in that environment. So if you see in this room here where I am, if you're watching this on YouTube, you see it's quite bright. So this kind of light at night is not good for getting the body into more, getting the body's circadian rhythm working in the right area, because the body will think, okay, from this bright light, that it's still, the sun hasn't set yet. So this is really important you understand this, guys. The environment you sleep within should have temperature at around 16 to 18 degrees. You could sleep potentially with a window open. Your body will sleep a lot better. Also, you're looking at having very calming lights in your house. So that's something I would recommend highly for people, is set up your house at nighttime where you have a lot of low dim light lamps on, and so things are a lot darker and dim lit. There's not bright lights, which are really going to confuse your circadian rhythm, going to start to maybe affect that melatonin production. So we want to set an environment. So you want your room completely dark, pitch black, so your body there's no light coming in. You want your temperature room between 16 and 18 degrees, and you want to make sure that your house is dimly lit, so you're setting your body up for sleep. And this is really, really important, because the less light exposure we have at nighttime, especially blue light, we spoke about TVs and phones and all that kind of stuff, the better quality the sleep is going to be from that. So these are really important. The other thing you can do as well, guys, like I said at the start, is you can measure your sleep and start to look at, okay, what quality of sleep am I getting? There's many things you can measure sleep with now, from the Apple Watch to Fitbits to, I personally use the Oura Ring because I find it one of the most convenient ways, and I find it a very, very, very good, accurate guide to my sleep. So I can see if I'm in a light sleep for how long, if I'm in a REM sleep, or I'm in deep sleep. So we have our light sleep, then we have REM sleep comes next. That's when you start to dream. And then we have our deep sleep, where you're completely in a very, very deep state of sleep. Your very vivid dreams there, like really you think you're actually there. So you can see where are you a light sleeper? Do you spend a lot of time in REM sleep? And also you can measure how much time you're awake, and you're moving a lot at night, and maybe there's comfort there in your bed. Maybe to change that, maybe to look at the temperature, maybe look at the light at night in the room. Maybe it's not dark enough, maybe your pillow's not good. So you can start to see, okay, I can start to pick away at one or two of these things all the time to see if I can find a way to sleep better and not be as restful in my sleep. So this is really important thing, guys. So if any one of these areas that I spoke about kind of stands out to you as a glaring problem, you say, yeah, that's actually something I could really work on, then you can start to look at straight away and say, right, let's start attacking that. Let's start to look at that and start to fix that. So of all these pointers, thinking back and saying to yourself, okay, what do I do? Maybe I drink coffee at 6 p.m. in the evening and I think, oh, it doesn't affect my sleep. It actually does. So maybe if you push that back 8 hours from your sleep window, you could find potentially a lot better sleep quality. And that's exactly what you want. I mean, it's really, really important that we look after our sleep, because when it comes to sleep, we only get one body, we only get one day at a time. So we want to perform at our best, especially when it comes to getting up and going to the gym, guys. If you're expecting yourself to get up and go into the gym in the morning and feel good and be energetic and have a very, very good quality session, you're not going to get that from having a very poor sleep cycle. So really important you look at that and you say to yourself, okay, I am going to start to look at all these pointers here, and I'm going to find one that really stands out to me and start there, and then pick away at the rest of them until you find that nice common ground where sleep is really good. And when we talk about sleep, there's a range with sleep. I mean, most people you've heard, like, we want to get about 8 hours. I mean, 8 hours is kind of preference for most people if they can. Some people only sleep 5, some people only sleep 6, and they can't sleep any longer because potentially of jobs or work. And that's something that, look, we have to live with. But if you have the option to get about 8 to 9 hours, 10 hours sleep a night, the better for you. Because I was reading a recent study here, a sleep study that was done over 14 days. So people were on the same diet, same calories, trying to lose weight, and they both tested their sleep. And both these groups, one group had, say, 70% sleep. It wasn't great. And the other group had very, very good quality sleep. And the difference in their weight loss was literally the same, but the difference of what came off in that weight loss, the group that got less sleep lost a lot of lean tissue and not as much body fat. And the group that were sleeping really well retained a lot of lean tissue and actually lost a way more body fat. Now, take into account they lost the same amount of weight roughly, but the body composition was completely different. And remember, when we're trying to lose weight, we want to preserve as much lean tissue and grow lean tissue as much as possible and decrease fat mass. So you can see there that sleep had actually a huge effect on lean tissue. It affected lean tissue, and people lost lean tissue due to lack of sleep. So we know now, and we can look at that study and say, okay, that's one study that was done, that we know that sleep has a huge impact on body composition and weight loss. So really important, guys, if you are on the journey of weight loss, or changing your body composition or whatever you're trying to do, build muscle, sleep is going to have a huge impact on that. So that's something to really think about and really start to look at your sleep in a little bit more detail. And I hope that you can get a tip from this that can really improve your sleep, because it's the pathway to an absolute better body. It's the pathway to a more productive day. It's the pathway to a more productive training session, a complete change around in your mood. It can help you in so many ways. We know that sleep also impacts your appetite, which will impact it in a negative way by driving your ghrelin hormone up, your hunger hormone, the one that's going to tell you you're hungry all the time. So your chances that day of making good choices with food potentially could be impeded. So something to really think about, guys. Again, I hope this was helpful. I hope that you can take something from it to really help you improve your sleep. And I hope you, when it comes to changing your body, you think about sleep as a very important variable, if not one of the most important variables. So really think about that, guys. Again, thanks a million for listening to the episode of Reach Your Peak podcast. I really appreciate everybody and all the feedback I got from the podcast. And again, I would really appreciate if everybody would subscribe to the podcast, share it on their social media, and comment on the podcast. If you have any questions at all, guys, please reach out to us on our social media platforms. You'll get me on coach.bobbyenright on Instagram, and you'll also get the gym peakperformance.academy on Instagram as well. Drop us a direct message there, guys. We'd be more than happy to help you. And any subject you would like me to talk about in future podcasts, please feel free to reach out. I would be more than happy to talk about a subject that you'll be interested in. Again, have a great week. Look after your sleep. Start thinking about it now, and let's improve it. And that'll set the tone for a better body, better mind, physically and mentally. Have a great week, guys, and we'll catch everybody next week on another episode of Reach Your Peak podcast.